Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my podcast. My name is Lynette. Today we're going to talk about things don't have to be hard. And I'm going to start off by giving an example of what I mean by that. I was home waiting for my caregiver to come to start my day, and she texted me a half hour before she was to be here and said she was in Mexico. Now I thought, oh my gosh, you could have texted me the day before. You don't call a half hour before and say you're in another country. But she did. And it made me get really frustrated. I thought, I can't stand depending on other people to do things because time and time again I've been let down. And I thought, I've got to conquer this situation. So I thought, I'm going to exercise really hard. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to make it to where I don't need any help from anybody. And then I realized that it's not about working hard, exercising hard, twisting your mind up with what you're going to do, how you're going to make it happen. It's about relaxing and letting God flow through you. And the realization came to me that I will walk in God's time. What's interesting about when you're trusting and believing God, He's making changes, not only changes in the outer world, things that He knows you want or need that you can't see so you don't know they're happening, but the same thing is going on internally in your body. And I realized I will know when the right time is to take steps. I will just feel it. So in trusting Him, I don't have to work so hard. It's like just trusting that there is the right time. Now, that's not an excuse for not taking the steps that we need to take to advance ourselves. I mean, if our goal is career or whatever your goal is, or a better body, you want to lose 20 pounds, I mean, you need to do your part as well. But you do it in a joyful manner. You do it in trusting God. You don't need to be so aggressive with yourself, put so much stress on yourself. Because I feel all our lives we're going to have goals and dreams and things we want. So do we want to walk in a constant state of stress, trying to make it happen? Or do we want to walk in a constant state of trust and doing our part that we know needs to be done? And as a matter of fact, when you eliminate the stress, you're open to getting the messages, the wisdom as to what you need to do, what your next steps are. And in doing that in a stress-free manner, you still are open to being in the present moment, being with the people that you're with at that particular moment. In other words, you're not with anybody sitting by them and your mind is off somewhere else. No, you don't need to do that. You should enjoy where you're at all the time and still have your goals in mind, but in more of a relaxed, stress-free manner. And then the wisdom of what the next step is will come to you. So in other words, it's a win-win because you're still working towards your goals, but they don't have to be all-consuming of your mind, of your body, of your stress level. You are still working for it. And as a matter of fact, part of putting things in the right priority is giving your attention to your goal, your career goal, whatever it is, and doing what needs to be done without carrying baggage that doesn't need to be there. And all you have to do is be open to the wisdom to take the steps and trust that things are happening behind the scenes, even if you can't see them. If it's in your physical body, you got to trust things are happening internally. If it's outward things, you got to trust that there are things going on in the works. People are recognizing you. You're doing a good job. And that's the whole key, is you need to realize that you are doing a good job. Whether it's taking care of your body, working out at the gym, whatever, or if it's career, but not to the point of stressing, because that's really counterproductive. Stress makes you go backwards. It puts a negative spin on it. But if you do it, and you do it in a joyful manner, you do it in trust, then you're open to the wisdom. And as I mentioned before, it's the wisdom to take the next step. And the next step to be fruitful in your steps, not beating your head against the wall, not having your mood swing up and down, but just knowing, having that confidence that you're making the right step forward at the right time, in the right direction. You know, I believe when we're born, we are all destined to a calling. And I think for some, it comes immediate. And for others, you're going through either childhood trauma or drama, or maybe even into adulthood trauma or drama. And then like a light goes off, and you realize this is the person you were meant to be. I believe that calling is in there. It's within you, but it can't shine when your mind is bogged down, when your body is bogged down with stress. So when you learn to release that and to trust, I believe that's when the real you comes out, the person that you are meant to be, your calling, your best self, truly living your best life. And it's all part of enjoying life. I think there's so much that goes on that we almost forget how to enjoy life. I'm going to quote something that I heard on a video. And the words were, "Don't drag the symptoms of a story that is already ended." And I started thinking about it, and I thought, wow, because we all have a tendency to dig up the past, especially if we were treated in a way that we didn't feel was fair. But when you become your true self, when you take the steps, when you live in trust, it's a whole new you. It's a whole new beginning. It's a whole new life. And so why would you want to drag those negative symptoms of a story that has already ended? Those words were so powerful to me. This video came from Simplified Wisdom. So if you want your goals and dreams to come to fruition, yes, you have to be willing to do the work. But you don't put so much stress on yourself mentally and physically, because that blocks the answers, the creativity of what you were seeking. In other words, things in this life, we somehow develop a part of us that thinks we have to work really hard. But I know we need to develop a trust. And as we're reaching our goals, let's take the steps to enjoy life, to enjoy every step of our life, even when we're climbing the ladder. Because there is more abundance, more clarity when we relax. Now wrap your head around that. The more relaxed you are, the more clarity, the more wisdom you get to take your next step. And I got to tell you, when you get that wisdom, life is easier. The times that I've gotten really strong wisdom is usually when it's something that I personally never thought of. And it just comes to me, and it's absolutely correct. But I'm going to share a little story with you. One time, somebody was really taking advantage of me, and I did not know it. And I was home in my kitchen, and all of a sudden, this wisdom came to me. So I approached the situation as if I knew it. And to this day, they never asked how I knew it was happening. But it was just that I guess I was in a relaxed enough state that I could get that wisdom. You've just got to believe that everything is going to work out. It's part of having that absolute trust. And I know we've talked about this in the past. Even if it doesn't go exactly in the direction that you were hoping it would, again, part of that trust is trusting that you're being directed in a situation that's best for you. Sometimes we fight that when gears get shifted because we think we're losing so much. But again, we don't know what's happening behind the scenes. We don't know what's happening out there. So we've got to trust, even if we end up hitting bumps in the road or even if we're redirected. And honestly, when you have that trust, it just makes it so much easier when you have the attitude that maybe that particular direction wasn't good for me. Maybe I'm being redirected because it's a better situation for me. And that's how life is. Doors open in areas where we're supposed to go. And sometimes we're fighting and screaming and kicking because we want to go the way that we want to go. But it's not always best. It always goes back to we don't really know what the future is in a particular situation. But God knows. And if you have that absolute trust that everything is going to work out, even if you're redirected, the goal in all of this, I believe, is to be the person that you were meant to be the person that God wants you to be. And it's interesting how life takes you on a little journey. And I think the less resistant you are, the easier your journey is going to be. But when you kind of reach that plateau where you feel like maybe you're not there 100%, but you can kind of see the light, that you've reached that plateau of the doors opening and the light shining in you, that you're doing God's work, that you're doing what God wants you to do. It's so exciting. And then who knows into infinity what the next step is going to be, what's going to be open for you. But the point is, you're shedding all that past drama, all that past trauma, taking the mask off, being who you are, being your true self, being who God wants you to be. So whatever journeys it took to get you to this point, and I know, believe me, I know some of it is not pleasant. I realize that. But if you've made it through it, and your goal is to be your true self, to be the person that God wants you to be, then you can shed everything that you went through in the past. I mean, if you need to still work things out, then you get the appropriate help and deal with it the way you need to. But for the most part, in terms of just digging up the past just for the sake of talking about it, no, you don't want to do that, because you have finally shed that trauma and drama to let your light come through, to be who you are, basically to work for God. Again, it goes back to that episode where I talked about life is to be enjoyed. And I think this is all part of it. I don't know if we were raised or the society showed us that you have to work hard, you have to be stressed, you have to fight, you have to, just put yourself in the turmoil basically to get ahead. No, life is to be enjoyed, and climbing the ladder is to be enjoyed. And I think part of it, or maybe all of it, is to shed all the drama, everything that's been restricting you, and let your true self come through. Let the person that you were born to be finally come to fruition so you can work for God, work for yourself, work those advanced steps, and be the best that you can be in a joyful manner, and still be present with those that you love, still have a clear head, so when you do your job, you can do it well. It's basically so exciting that we are letting life, the universe, God mold us, and we just don't know what's out there. That makes it really exciting. But again, always be willing and be diligent in your part, what you need to do. Because again, I'm going to recap. When we want our goals, our dreams to come true, we have to be willing to do the work, but not in a way where it's putting stress on us mentally, because that will block it. Because success does not need to be difficult. You can still be very successful and enjoy life. I believe when we are being our true selves, our best selves, that is the self that we were meant to be. With that being said, God bless you, and I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.